Thank you for joining me today. Today we'll be talking about graphing absolute value functions. So let's get started with some definitions. An absolute value function is a function whose rule contains an absolute value expression. Its parent function is represented by f of x is equal to the absolute value of x. The shape of an absolute value function is a V-shaped graph. So to identify the vertex and graph, first we need to know what our steps for graphing are. So we need to identify and graph our vertex. I'm actually going to put these steps up on the screen right now. So I would like you to copy these parts down in the white section of your notes off to the side. All right, once we find our vertex, we're going to find 2 points to the left of the vertex and 2 points to the right of the vertex. Then we have to connect all of our points. So, example 1, graph f of x equals the absolute value of x plus 2 minus 1. So we need to find our vertex first. So I take what's in the middle here, that's x plus 2, and set it equal to 0. Now I'm solving to get x by itself, so I'm taking 2 away from both sides. I get x equals negative 2. So for my vertex, x is negative 2. Then I go back and I plug it back in. So negative 2 plus 2 minus 1. So the absolute value of 0 minus 1. The absolute value of 0 is 0. And 0 minus 1 is negative 1. So my vertex y is negative 1. So my vertex is negative 2, negative 1. So I put a dot on that. Then I find 2 points, 2 x values to the left of the vertex. So if my vertex is going to be on this line, the next x value to the left is negative 3. And the next one after that is negative 4. And then I find 2 points to the right of my vertex. The first point to the right is negative 1, and the second x value to the right is 0. So now I'm going to plug in these values to my absolute value equation to find what their y values are so I can graph them. So let's start with negative 4. So I have negative 4 plus 2 minus 1. So the absolute value of negative 4 plus 2 is negative 2. The absolute value of negative 2 is 2. And 2 minus 1 is 1. So I have the point negative 4, 1. So we go over to negative 4, and we go up to 1. And put a dot. Now I plug in negative 3. So I'll use a different color for that. The absolute value of negative 3 plus 2 minus 1. Absolute value of negative 3 plus 2 is negative 1. The absolute value of negative 1 is 1. And 1 minus 1 is 0. So I have the point negative 3, 0 right here. Now I'll try to the right of the axis, or of the vertex. I'll plug in negative 1 plus 2 minus 1. So negative 1 plus 2 is 1. The absolute value of 1 is 1, and 1 minus 1 is 0. So I go to negative 1, 0. And then my final point, I'm plugging in 0. So 0 plus 2, that's minus 1. There we go. The absolute value of 0 plus 2 is 2. The absolute value of 2 is 2, and 2 minus 1 is 1. So I go to the point 0, 1. And I plot that point. Now you can see the V shape of my graph. Now I'm just going to connect my dots and put arrows on the ends. All right, at this point I would like you to pause your video and give this one a try. I'll come back in a minute and see how you did. All right, let's see how you did. The graph is now on your screen. Now remember, for full credit and to get your stamp, you need to have all of your work shown and you need to have your table filled out. This concludes our lesson. Thank you for joining me, and I look forward to seeing you in the next video.